Hey guys, you're listening to Butterfly Road, where we talk everything sport and mental health. I'm Ginny McGowan, joined by Carrie Riccaro, and it's time to get mentally naked.
Today, did you hear or see about that Khloe Kardashian photo that was leaked? Oh, I sent it to you.
Yes, that's how I saw it.
That was so dumb.
No, it's fine. I thought it was cool though. Some people were like, "Oh, what's wrong with this photo? Like, she looks great." And I was like, "Yeah, that's nice." Like,
her PR team, well, first of all, they are freaking out. I think it was her assistant who accidentally posted it, and then they were like suing platforms and suing people for like spreading it because they wanted to get it off the internet. And then I think they started to see the positive support and backed off a little bit.
What are people going to say? Khloe's ugly?
Right. She's not. She looks great. It's just she doesn't. When you compare it to her Instagram, it's so different. But I also
anyone with a brain knows she edits her Instagram. Like,
I know all of them
knows. Yeah, they're like very overly edited, and she doesn't need to do that.
But not everyone. Like, you can still know, but then see that photo and kind of still feel bad about yourself. Like on Instagram, you know, it happens. We've talked about this. Even if you know, it's still like,
you know it's edited, but you're like, I don't look like that still. So that's annoying.
I was like on Twitter and I searched her name because I wanted to see like what everyone was saying about it. And everyone was kind of just like, why doesn't she do this more? This would make me like her that much more. And I didn't realize how much I needed to see this photo of her that's unretouched to remind me that like my body and all of the flaws that go with it is so normal.
When someone's more human and relatable, they're more likable. That's what I talked about in Lindsay's episode a billion weeks ago. Like, she's on this pedestal, she's famous, but like when she opens up, when you open up to someone, I mean, vulnerability is key. We've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
How much cooler is Khloe? I mean, she's cool.
I hope she comes out with a statement. Like, she hasn't come out with one yet. Like, if she came out on Twitter right after that and was like, oops, but also this is me, she has an opportunity to like kind of control that. But
we'll stay tuned on that.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great for people to get that little reminder too. Cause you and I talk about it all the time. Like, Instagram, it's terrible.
Yeah, and that leads me to Easter was this past Sunday, and I got my social media back.
Oh, do people know that I've been in charge of the
Yes, we've mentioned this.
I hope I did good.
But anyway, so I had Instagram for maybe at most 4 hours, and I had to delete it because the amount of anxiety that I felt in my body after I re-downloaded it, it was insane. It was so much to catch up on and so many things happening at the same time, not to mention TikTok. Like, TikTok's the same thing. I'm about to delete that, but that's a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's hard because it is part of my job now.
Yeah.
Like, more important for me than ever before, and I used to freaking hate social media, but I've been a little more on it. But I do wish there are times where I could just like delete it for a month like that, but I feel like I can't really afford to do that at this stage.
Yeah.
But yeah,
unless we get to a point where we can hire a social media person.
Meant for even myself.
Oh, just your personal like brand?
Yeah. So
do you have a personal brand, do you think?
What is my brand? Dumb? Silly? Oh, graphics on my t-shirts. I feel like I like to express myself through like my tee.
And Butterfly Road. That probably helps your personal brand.
Yes, I know. I need to like put Butterfly Road in my profile.
Oh yeah, I should do that.
I can add that to our notes.
But I mean, not that it makes the biggest difference. So many things, so many balls to keep in the air these days.
Yeah, we have a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah.
I do probably not need to even ask you this. It was just a funny question, but I guess I don't even need to. I can save it for another time. I guess I'm just.
Can you not do this whole? I have something to ask you, but I'm gonna make you wait a week.
I'll ask you. It's stupid. I came up with it at our lift today. Once again, squeaking my way into the circle of the people asking.
But questions. You came up with it this time.
I was like, gotta come up with I came up with one of them was like very inappropriate.
Gotta prove myself so they don't kick me out.
I have a question. So, would you rather be able to fly, time travel, or be invisible, and why?
Invisible. I always say that.
Everyone's saying invisible. Why? I don't get it.
I don't want
I
to
didn't
time
say that.
travel. I'd rather just not know what's coming and not be able to go to the past because you can't change that stuff. Like if you mess up with the past,
you don't have to visit the ugly stuff. You can visit the fun stuff.
No matter what you do, like when you go back and
you're scared. I don't know. Like you're gonna
mess up my current state. Like if I go back in time, if I do anything to mess up the status quo.
Yeah, like The Butterfly Effect. That's a great movie.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm into that stuff.
But I don't know. I always say my superpower would be invisibility.
And what would you do with that? That's what everyone was saying.
I don't know. I feel like maybe everyone that says that is a little bit of an introvert, because when you're like really introverted, sometimes you want to feel invisible. Sometimes I'll just be sitting somewhere and I'm in public and I don't feel like, I don't know.
That's what someone said. I wouldn't want to be bothered. I want to be left alone. I'm like, well, that's what headphones are for. But
but it's different. It's like, I know people are there. Even in the gym sometimes, I'll get in this mood and I'll just be like, I wish I could just.
Yeah, and a fun fact for you, I don't know if you realize this, but I always used to wear headphones when we traveled in college. I don't know if you noticed. I wore huge ones like that. The ones I have here, the Bose. Literally nothing was playing in my ears. It was so nobody talked to me. I loved everyone to death, but I was like, leave me alone.
I respect that.
I would pretend that I was like listening to something or like, quote, doing homework, and I was never doing that. Like on the bus, on the planes, like everyone left me alone the entire time. And I was like, thank God.
Why didn't you just listen to music while you're at it?
I just like didn't care to listen to anything. Like I just didn't want anyone. I was just like, I don't want anything.
Yeah.
I just want to be alone with a group of 30 girls traveling through the airport. Yeah, it was weird. Like people would talk to me and I would take off my headphones and be like, what? Heard everything they were saying.
Are you serious?
Yes. So funny.
I'm probably going to start doing that too now.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's a great technique.
For avoiding people.
Yes, it is. It really is.
The main topic for today is...
Da-da-da.
Well,
Did you forget what the topic is?
Stop. I'm trying to find it on my notes. I know. I just want to say it correctly. Okay, we're going to talk about athletes taking a leave of absence for mental health.
Yeah, we want to destigmatize this. I forget. I think we were talking about maybe Liz Cambage or someone a couple weeks ago, and I was like, why is there an issue with leaving to take care of yourself? But I have an interesting story for you, and I'm going to save it for like halfway through to keep the listeners reeled in.
Do you see how you keep doing this?
Yeah, this is a marketing
do you like
tactic.
to torture me?
No, it's marketing.
Understand.
I have something that you are going to be like, oh yeah, I remember this.
Okay.
I'm going to kind of put you on the spot a little bit, but I'm excited. I just thought of this.
I'm excited.
Okay. Lead us.
Okay. Well, just to open it up, I wanted to ask you, have you ever in your life done this? Taken a leave of absence for mental health?
I've never straight up publicly done it as a professional. I have almost done it.
Do you want to wait?
This is something different. But no, I almost done it as a professional. And then I ended up healing in time to like come out of retirement.
Right.
You could say like I came back. But yeah, I thought about it at the time, and it was for mental health reasons, but because I never followed through with it all the way, because it was during the off-season period, I guess it was never publicly announced. No one knew it about me. No one knew I went through anything. I literally had a season, finished, went through something, and then by the time the next season started, it was like no one knew. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I had to explain myself or anything or leave. I technically was already home, so I didn't have to take a leave, if that makes sense.
Yes, or do it publicly.
Right.
Like it was all just private between you and, I don't know, your coach, I guess.
And the league, yeah.
Do you think athletes thought about doing this but didn't do it because of the stigma?
I think probably a good amount. But then you think about they're all trying to be resilient and fight through and be the, quote, tough athlete. Or they're kind of coping in ways we've talked about with other athletes when we've done the spotlight. They're drinking, they're taking pills, they're, trying all these other things, and they're literally just suffering in their environments and not leaving. But I don't know off the top of my head publicly a ton of athletes that have put their hand up and said, I need to dip out. And this is why.
For some leagues, you don't get paid. Like, mental health is not an option.
Why wasn't I offered paid leave when I was going to take that leave of absence? I was about to sign that paper and then literally kind of be unemployed. That doesn't encourage anybody to say, okay, I'm going to take care of my mental health. How do you make someone choose, I have to take care of my mental health, or I have to have health benefits and money coming into my account? It's like groceries or mental health. It's not fair to even make someone choose.
Yeah, it's basically just like written in the policy. They're saying having a mental health crisis isn't a good enough excuse to leave and still get paid.
Yeah, it's not the same as a physical injury, but like if you get hurt, you can be on it's called the D45 in the NWSL. So you're just like on the D45. You're not eligible to play in any games for 45 days, but you still get paid. Like someone who has a really bad injury would go on the D45. Why can't we have a D45 for mental illness? So someone can leave the environment, go take care of themselves. But some of my teammates and I started talking about this, and it's really interesting. What if someone takes advantage of that? And maybe is that why this could be like a little bit of a difficult thing? Like they just are like, oh yeah, I'm mentally ill, and then they go on vacation. Like that's not really fair. I think I talked about this with you. Like how do you prove that you're really struggling? But it's hard because mental illness is something you can't see. You kind of have to just have someone communicate and like kind of demonstrate symptoms of it. So it is really kind of a sticky situation, but you never want to look at someone and not believe them because that's very messed up. What do you think about all this?
It's hard because you can't measure mental health. Like when someone's on DMP, whatever you're saying, 45 or whatever that list was, when someone's on that, like it's either for an injury or something else, but it's something like people can see. It's a physical thing, but mental health is that thing where it's like, you're right. You don't know if someone's faking it. And that's awful to say.
It's so messed up that
saying that because like my first inclination's always to give someone the benefit of the doubt. But then when do you stop doing that? Is that that's what I think is hard for some leagues to grapple with. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like we are way past the point of pretending mental health isn't a serious issue. Like, let's get with it. Let's go. Let's get this in the contracts. Like, I don't know why we have to keep bringing it up. It should be a good enough reason.
Also, these athletes love their sport. That's why they play. No one's LeBron James isn't gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna just like take my money and go to Hawaii. Yeah. He wants to play. That's why we all do it. We play the sport because we love it, especially in the NWSL because, we're not rolling in the Benjamins over here. We play because we love this thing.
One other thing I just thought of, it is so different when it comes to like sports providing that benefit. And then also when you get to the corporate world, like because in the corporate world, I don't see how that works. And there's more of a risk that someone is taking advantage of it. Like, I don't know, companies are already stingy with vacation days, sick days as it is. I guess it's a sick day. Technically, it's a sick day. So never mind. I guess corporate world kind of does.
But what if you need like a sick month? Is that okay?
But 1 month, that is a long time. And
what if you're mentally ill?
I don't know.
I know. That's why
it's so hard. It's so hard.
I often tell people we don't have the answers. We're kind of just stirring a discussion because me and you don't know how to solve the problem.
If it's 1 month, because this is about the duration of time, if it's 1 month, that's long enough to be like, okay, there's a really big issue going on. Maybe I should leave my job and figure this out before being in a job that causes me stress. Like 2-3 weeks, if I went to someone and had a serious talk and obviously gave my argument and gave them evidence of why I needed this break, I think they'd be like, okay, we'll figure it out. But if it's a month, this is a bigger issue. I think I need to quit my job and figure this out on my own. But you can go back and forth. There's so many different situations and like there's billions of people in the world who are working. So
yeah. And I think a lot of people work in jobs that they are not the happiest and that do cause them, mental angst. And there are reasons you stay. Once again, health benefits, income, the stability, and you find another job is good. But going back to more of the athlete, well, I guess this could be for the corporate world as well. I'm a proponent of leaving the environment that's causing you pain. So if you are in an environment that you are just like, I'm getting worse every day. I'm not improving. I'm getting sick. I'm feeling symptoms of mental illness, of depression, anxiety, whatever I'm feeling. If an environment is causing all of this stress, you should remove yourself from it. It's almost common sense, so much so that we just don't think about doing it, where it's like, okay, if I'm waking up every day in this routine, doing X, Y, and Z to make a living in my job, whether that's athlete or not athlete, and it's making me depressed, something has to change. You got to get help. Take a leave. Like for the NWSL, can you leave? Literally leave physically and go, quote, home to your family or a friend to remove yourself from where you are. I think it's a scary thing for people to do or say that they have to do. I don't really know of anyone in my league that's done this, but I don't know why it would be so bad or shameful to say, I'm going to go to my mom's, or I'm going to go to my grandma's, or I'm going to go to my best friend's, take 2 weeks and just hit a reset button. Because I'm not okay in this environment. I'm getting up every day, going to the field, going to the basketball court, and I just cannot function in this environment anymore. I'm declining rapidly.
There's different like severities actually in this one. When I was researching in this one article, ESPN came out with one about NHL players and how like COVID has obviously taken a hit on everyone, but for them now in this season, like they're saying they kind of missed that bubble environment because at least in the bubble, like they were able to kind of talk to other teams, go out to eat with their friends. But in this environment now where it's a full season, obviously, it's a lot of players are having a hard time with not being able to see their families, not being able to see other friends they have outside of hockey. Like, for example, Duncan Keith said, like, he hasn't seen his kids since January.
Jeez.
Like they can't even just go home to their family. So, and they said this in the article too, that there's definitely been an increase in guys going to seek out mental health help from professionals that they have in and around the league. And it's funny, like a lot of the people that are quoted in this article are referred to as like player X, player Y. So like they didn't want their name released.
Why?
And in the public saying that they're dealing with these mental health issues. That's
the stigma. How do we?
I know there's some that their names are here, like Nick Foligno, who's I think he's a captain of the Blue Jackets.
If you,
but anyways, yeah, Nick Foligno, he came out talking about it. Where was I going with this? I connected it to something. What did we say before this?
I was saying about leaving your environment.
Oh, yeah. Well, these guys, these athletes in these leagues that are currently playing, they can't leave their environment because that exposes them. It exposes their teammates. And if they do, the process of coming back in is extremely complicated. They got to quarantine. They got to isolate from everyone. Like it's making it even harder to leave an environment when it was hard to begin with before COVID.
Okay, but how do you put a price on your mental health and say, well, when I come back, I have to quarantine? It's like 5 days protocols.
Yeah.
Those harsh. It's not worth feeling suicidal or depressed or anxious to say, well, I have to quarantine when I get back. But I feel like it adds that extra, like, almost excuse of why people don't want to just take that step and go. It's like people look for reasons to stay. Like, oh, my team needs me. I'm going to look weak. The public's going to think I'm weak. No, I don't want anyone to know. I don't want my coach to think I'm not good enough. Oh, COVID, I have to quarantine when I get back. These things should never take over the real thing, but people have them trumping the real thing. I'm talking rock bottom here. Not just like, oh, I'm sad today, or, oh, I'm having like a couple of 2 weeks where I'm not playing my best. I'm talking straight, like, I can't function. I can't get out of bed, like Hayden Hurst type stuff. And I know you're like, oh, well, the NHL guys don't want to leave because COVID. But to me, what I've witnessed, what I've been through, what I see around me personally in this league, there's no excuse to not take care of your mental health except for the fear, the stigma, possibly the lack of pay. But that's like, hopefully one day won't be issues. But if people have permission to go and they can still get their salary and their benefits, there's no reason. Like, what is a good enough reason? I feel like mental health is up here. Like, it's your brain, it's your joy, your happiness, your fulfillment in life. That's why we live. If you're not living, what the hell are you doing?
I think but that's one specific situation. Like there are millions of different circumstances that athletes find themselves in when it comes to mental health. Like when you're at your rock bottom, that's kind of an easy decision to leave. It's when you're not at your rock bottom. It's when you think I'm overreacting, I'm being dramatic, I can stick this out.
Yeah, you're right. So rock bottom, people definitely should leave. We're in agreement.
Yeah.
So now let's say we're at medium bottom. Now maybe is the time to bring up my situation that I was keeping everyone in the loop for. Mic on. I want raw reaction from you.
My stomach's growling again.
Oh, everyone, she's hungry. Surprise. Do you remember when I took those 2 weeks in college?
Yeah.
That was for mental health. Did you know? I literally forgot until 2 minutes before we started recording, and I wrote it down. I was like, I went in there to the office. No, I didn't even. I texted Dawn. She met me outside the benches. I was bawling, crying. I couldn't even speak. She took me right up to the office, talked to Teresa. Teresa immediately couldn't have asked for a better reaction from a coach. Shout out Teresa. Said, you need to take 2 weeks. You're not traveling with us this weekend. Go do something fun. Get away from soccer. And I did.
Yeah.
Remember? You guys went to Stanford and I didn't come. I went to the men's soccer game. I got Chipotle. I bopped around. And I took 2 weeks. I didn't train for 2 weeks. And I wonder now, you were a freshman. This was September time. How did you feel about me? Did you fully understand? How did you feel about someone like me coming back from a World Cup, feeling so not okay, and just as I started to return back, sitting on the sidelines, just watching you guys suffer and train? Be honest.
So at the beginning of you talking about it, I thought I remembered, but now that you're done talking about it, and I thought it was my sophomore year, but if it's my freshman year, I don't remember that.
Well, sophomore year, I sat out for a physical injury, which I know you were kind of yeah, well, just fine. I'll forgive you.
No, it's not fine. You were upset.
I had a hip surgery, everyone.
I wasn't oh no, Carrie's out. This is so annoying.
I'm sure some people were. But
well, it wasn't me.
Rewind to my junior year. You probably don't even remember.
I don't
remember. I didn't come to Stanford. Santa Clara, you guys played Thursday, and then Stanford on Sunday.
I literally do not remember.
So you don't remember me sitting out for 2 weeks and just then coming back in and playing nothing ever happened.
Maybe a little bit.
I think I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I think it looked entitled. It looked like I could just do whatever I wanted. I just was kind of this girl that comes back from the World Cup. I'm the captain on the team. I decide this is how it looks on the outside. I don't want to go to Stanford this weekend. I don't want to play. I want to just hang out and be on campus and do whatever. And I'm not going to practice for 2 weeks. And then when I decide I'm ready, I'm going to come back in and start and play every minute.
Yeah.
It doesn't really look good from an outsider's perspective, from my teammates looking in on me. But from me, I didn't have a choice at that time. I actually, now that I'm reflecting on it, think the coaches handled that and my mental health. Shout out to them. No questions asked, said 2 weeks, get away. I brought this up because I feel like teammates, would they fully understand? Even in the pros, let's say, I keep talking about LeBron James, he's my best friend. But let's say LeBron does this. He takes 2 weeks away, comes back. You think his teammates are like, bud, you didn't practice for 2 weeks. Now you think you could just step in? Or do you think they're more understanding, oh yeah, you were struggling? I don't know. We're just speculating. We're just guessing.
Are you comparing yourself to LeBron James?
Literally. No, I don't know. He's the first athlete I keep thinking of.
I think it's okay. Here's a couple things. And when I actually put myself in your shoes, you are a junior, you are a captain. Being a captain, that's even more pressure. We've already talked about this, but being a leader, you want to make sure you put on this brave face. Mm-hmm. So I can definitely see how it can be misconstrued also. And here's why. It's because I think most likely, and I'll let you answer because I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like you knew you were going to have a spot when you came back. And you were in favor with the coaches. The coaches liked you. I don't know, during those 2 weeks, were you ever oh my God, I'm going to lose my starting spot forever?
No,
so,
I was just take care of yourself because you need to do your best to help the team.
Every single person has different pros and cons to weigh in the situation. So me, let's say my freshman year, and let's say I was starting and getting some playing time, but as a freshman, I wouldn't have that choice. You're young, you don't want to come across as that person that isn't strong enough to handle it. Other people must be going through similar things. Why can't I handle it?
You're so right.
It depends. That's why it's so difficult.
Okay. So now I ask you though, once again, the same question that I asked a couple of minutes ago, how do you put a price on your mental health? But then it goes back to how bad are you struggling? You kind of have to put them both on the scale. Fight for playing time or fight for my mental health. Which one is weighing more? Which one's going to hold me back more? Like, am I letting myself down or am I letting my team down? Like, you kind of have to sit there with the scale. Like, for me personally, I was like, I'm letting my team and myself down. Like, I was just both parts of the scale going, like, literally sinking to the bottom. I was like, to help them, I got to help myself. For you as a freshman that you're trying to earn playing time and prove yourself, to come in the beginning and be like, I'm struggling mentally, very interesting to see the double standard of how coaches might react to that.
Yeah.
And like not give you the treatment.
Right. And
I got the royal treatment. Like,
not saying that you did not deserve that treatment.
No, but
and not saying the coaches would treat someone else differently.
Right.
Playing devil's advocate. What if these were the circumstances?
So what would you do? But then
I think if you're at the point where you need to leave for more than a week, again, it's bad.
You're struggling bad enough.
It's bad.
You have to.
So you just got to do it. It's non-negotiable.
There's no shame. Yeah. And
non-negotiable.
Then you can get yourself right and then go fight for your spot. Because if you were good enough anyway, you could then earn it.
We forget that in these circumstances, well, hopefully now, that if you are, it's not like this comes about one day and then at the end of the day, like you need to decide to leave. Like you've been feeling this for a while. So like there are resources you need to talk to and talk to them about it. Ask them, I don't know, maybe I should take a week off or maybe I should, what do you think? Like, do I take 2 days of practice off? And they'll help you. Obviously, I'm not a freaking therapist. I'm not licensed. Say,
at that point, you should be in therapy.
Yeah, be in therapy. And then that will help you understand what next steps you need to take and they'll help you stay level-headed, I guess.
Maybe like if you're in college, therapist can suggest to the coach, you can meet all three, decide the plan of action. This just reminded me, you know, that little documentary that they posted on YouTube when I was mic'd up and Randy like called me over and was like, I didn't know you were struggling. You should get help. I held on. That was like, what, late October maybe before I got help. I was the young freshman who I knew I was going to play and had a spot, but I was holding off and not taking care of myself. I was sinking so rapidly. Like I said, I literally wanted to leave and bag groceries. And my mom like squeaked it out to Randy one time, like, oh, she's struggling. He was like, I had no idea. And he talked to me. And that's when I finally was like, yeah, I need to get help. And like, there were times where I did have to leave practice and like take care of my own self. But what if I never did? Like, would I have continued sinking and then I wouldn't have been able to perform or function?
Yeah. I mean, you gotta speak up at some point. You got to say something because no one's going to know anything unless you do. And it might seem like you're being obvious with things, but trust me, you're not. Like you're not. People do not really notice unless they're
thinking, oh,
observant.
you're like you're stressed, you have an exam or you're just having a bad day at home. People, I can see players, oh, you look sad or you look this. You don't really know like that someone leaves training and they're like laying there unable to function or move or shower or cook or like what they're really going through, because once again, your sport is your escape. So that's kind of like the quote best part of your day. So that's, if they're like even not doing good there, it's like,
I know
what's going on when they're not at their sport.
Exactly. And another thing too, is like we are kind of taught, or we grow up thinking depression looks like not being able to get out of bed, looking terrible, not doing well in school, just like having no friends. But if you have like a teammate who's going to all the same practices as you, who's maybe occasionally laughing in the locker room, like you're going to think they're fine, because that's not really what we're conditioned to think depression looks like. You know, like if we see someone and they're doing everything we're doing and you feel fine, you're just like, oh, they're functioning just as well as I am right now. Like people learn how to deal with this baggage, how to try to carry this baggage through as much as they can before they are finally pulled down by it. What this whole conversation is about is making sure people understand that they got to get out and get help before that baggage pulls them all the way down and ultimately to the point where you can't get back up.
To like completely put an umbrella over this. Obviously every circle.
I don't think that's, you mean to come full circle. I don't think putting an umbrella over something is a saying.
I'm embarrassed.
I guess it could be. Maybe I'll start saying that now. Yeah, just to put an umbrella over all of this.
Let me explain what I was trying to
I'm going to use that now.
I meant to put an umbrella over like all of dealing with destigmatizing, stepping away, whether you're at rock bottom or medium level in the sea or whatever. Take it all into consideration. What's the best thing to do if you're struggling?
Tell
Is
someone.
it okay to leave? Do you speak?
First thing, tell someone.
Tell someone. Good. Okay, step one, tell someone.
Talk to someone about it.
This is just, two girls that are not therapists reminding everyone. We tell someone. We're giving clinical advice for
I feel like we're like secondhand WikiHow. You know how when you look something up and WikiHow is always like first step.
Step.
Yeah, it's the first thing that comes up and I've listened to it every time.
Yes, I've looked up how to get stains out of like white clothes.
Oh yeah, they have everything.
Pour vinegar,
everything.
baking soda. I'm like, who put this?
It was me. I work for WikiHow actually. No, first step, tell someone.
Tell someone. Okay, let's do step 2. What do we do?
Come up with a plan of action, a POA.
POA. Potentially with a therapist, because if we're struggling this bad, we should already either be in the works to get therapy or in therapy.
That was a good caveat. Yes.
Yes.
I like it.
Right.
Third step.
If you're starting to sink faster and the therapy is not helping you get back afloat, do you suggest leaving and
changing environments?
Oh, good. Changing environments.
Third.
And I want to talk about that because for me, back my junior year, I changed environments, but I didn't leave campus. So there are levels of changing environments. I took a step away, I guess you could say. I, like surrounding myself with different people that were away from my team. I was doing campus life that had nothing to do with soccer. I was doing things away. Like I took a step away without taking like a full rock bottom leave, because that to me would have been fly home to my parents' house, which I didn't need to do for that situation.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that because there are people that simply cannot fully leave their environment.
Right. So there are
families, parents, kids, people with kids, like jobs, you know what I mean? So there are ways to change your environment without physically leaving it and going miles away.
So like what I did was try to change it as best as I can, even though I was on the same campus that I was like struggling on. I was like, okay, there are other things on the campus that I could do to just remove myself from the thing that's kind of causing me the mental stress and the pain and the sickness or whatever. That's possible even if you can't fully like fly somewhere. So I'm glad that was mentioned. And then I guess step 4 would be if you hit the rock bottom, you gotta dip. Right?
Make it a permanent.
Like, not permanent, just like a longer.
Oh. Or yeah.
Like a
well, I think that's in step 3, change environment. That is on a spectrum. Like you decide the severity of which you need to leave. And I guess there are times when like if you do a little bit and then you come back, you realize it wasn't enough, then you need to decide that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
But I think the next step is ultimately like evaluate how stepping away affected you. Did it help? Did it not? And then
how you felt when you came back. How you felt when you came back is very important too.
And then from there, talk to your therapist about, how with that new information of, how you're being impacted, I don't know, next steps, how to cope with this better, coming back. Do you feel, I don't know, stronger, all those things.
Different, recharged. Yeah. Wow. And the one last thing I want to say is there's no shame in taking any of these steps. There is zero shame. I've been guilty. You have been guilty of both kind of hiding these types of things and being shy and not speaking out about them until it was like forced upon us. I want to encourage other people to not wait until it gets to that point to do step 1, which we said, I think was tell someone. Is that what we said 2 minutes ago? Tell someone. To acknowledge it.
We can't forget our steps.
I know. Like, we just made those up.
Tell someone, yes, that's it.
Maybe I should like write them down, but we literally just made them up. But yeah, no shame in any of this. That's the whole point of this episode. Like, destigmatize this. If you don't do our amazing steps that we just made up, you're gonna sink. I think. Personally, I think you're gonna sink.
You are absolutely going to sink if you do not tell anyone. That we do know.
I thought you were going to say if you don't do our steps, you
No. No, I would never do that. We literally came up with those steps 10 seconds ago. So I'd be surprised if someone actually does it, not the other way around. I was just going to say, if you keep it, I mean, the first step is probably the most important and can take off it can take off a lot of weight, but you got to tell someone. You can't deal with it alone.
Step 1 is the big
obviously.
One, and there's no need to be shy about it.
Yeah.
We are 2 athletes that have gone through it, and we're saying it right now. No shame. And LeBron James,
None.
if he, I'm sure, would have no shame. My dear friend LeBron. Can I close out with something really fast? It's not funny at all, but I did want to just briefly mention my friend Nico and his friends. He was a soccer player at UNC. Him and his buddies in a couple weeks are doing the David Goggins challenge, which is basically running 4 miles every 4 hours until you reach 48 miles. And it's all based, it's like mental health based. And they built this bus and they are going from Utah to LA running, like crazy people. And he told me, he was like, we want to like push our bodies and minds to the limit, and they want to raise money for this and awareness for mental health. So they're actually raising money for a charity that I told you about. It's called Still I Run, which is a charity that fights the stigma of mental health and people struggling with mental health through running, which, as anyone that has listened to any of these episodes in the beginning knows, I freaking love running. Running is therapeutic, and I actually never knew about this charity until my friend Nico told me. And I think what those guys are doing with the bus, I haven't really seen a picture of the bus, but we're going to start posting a little bit on our Instagram about it. And if anyone want to donate, I think it's like a really cool cause, something totally aligned with like what we believe in, and in terms of like athletics and mental health and destigmatizing. It's kind of our umbrella. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that and shout out them, because anyone that's doing something good in the world deserves a little shout out. So pumped for them. It'll be in a couple weeks, so everyone stay tuned. Yeah, that was all I wanted to say about that. I thought it was just like super cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to follow along.
Yeah.
And while I'm on my couch.
Yeah, not running.
Not running. Oh, that's cool. What are you going to do the rest of the night?
Nothing.
Go to sleep?
Watch
Friends.
Like 8. I've been into Friends lately. I'm going to watch
Ravioli. Give me the
formioli. I'm never wearing this on the podcast again. You keep making me.
I stare at it like every 5 seconds.
Sorry. I love a good graphic tee.
Right. It's part of your personal brand.
That is, you should see what I'm wearing tomorrow. Free Britney.
Where are you wearing this to?
I'm wearing it to the locker room to let everyone know that I want to free Britney.
I didn't even know you had a shirt.
I bought it after watching the thing.
You did not mention that to me. We're going to need a picture of this
I
on the
can post
Instagram.
A picture on the Instagram of the Free Britney.
Please do.
Yeah. I'm so pumped.
That's cute, though. I can't believe you bought a t-shirt. It's cute and also a little concerning, but
yeah,
I guess
it's like
cute.
an obsession. So
everyone has their own. Okay, Brittany. I think we're good.
Yeah, you can call me Brittany. I like that.
I do too. That's your new name, Brittany.
Hit me, baby, one more time. That
Maybe
was
not.
so good.
That was actually pretty decent.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.